let's actually get started. So for Howard, anyone else just joining, get your camera set up. Let's start by allowing your feet to connect and then bringing the head top up to its highest point. And then relax everything in the middle as if you're stretching from the top down to your feet. And then take a deep breath while you're breathing, just raising the palms just to the center. And then let everything relax. So if you move your mind into your navel, your body will automatically calibrate. But now we can do some other things. If you grip your feet, when you grip your toes by activating the tendons in the front, you can feel the weight sink from your tailbone directly to the toes. So you can relax the tailbone, you can relax the back of the legs, the calves can relax. And when the tailbone sinks, that means that the neck can actually go up. Because when the tailbone is out, if we're walking around like this, or if the tailbone's this way, the neck is actually being pulled. So when you activate your toes and the tailbone sinks, that means that the back of the neck can expand vertically this way. And the most important thing that we're working on is our center line and making that as straight as possible. When the center line is straight, if there's no curvature in it, that means that the shoulders eventually will become straight on their own naturally, simply by adjusting one thing. We can reduce it down to just keeping energy in the top. But then if we like to add another point, we make the center line straight. So we'll talk more about that. Let's actually start with some Qigong. So breathing, activate your toes, and then pressing all the way up through your fingertips, reaching as if it's a stretch. Reach all the way out to the sides, breathing deep. Go at your own pace. And then check, see if you can do this exercise keeping the center line straight. So if you're sinking, some people sinking down, grip your toes and keep your back straight. Even though we may bend, this is a Tai Chi idea as well. So while you're working, we want to keep the back. If I bend, it wants to stay in line this way. So we keep the neck straight so that it's not hunching this way. Some people, when we're doing needle at the bottom of the C or fold knees, we want to keep that straight as opposed to hunching or curling. The same thing with this. We can open and close the spine this way. Try to keep it straight. On the inhale, grip your toes, lift the pelvic floor, engage your abs, keep the tongue pressed to the roof of the mouth, and on the exhale, let everything relax. So imagine your body is like a balloon or a hot air balloon, and as you inhale, you're drawing the chi with your toes, with the base of your abdomen, up into the center, all the way to the top to your fingertips. And then, just like filling a balloon, after you inhale and inflate, you relax to get ready to put more air in, more chi in. So it's pulling everything up and then letting everything relax. If you have a good imagination, if you can visualize, you can imagine drawing chi from the ground. You can pull up through the body. You can pull the chi surrounding your body. Do 3 more. Pushing down into the ground as you reach all the way up. And on the last one, bring your feet back to the center. And then bring your hands together in the center again. And then check the calibration every time we review, starting from the top down. By the way, the reason we go from the top down, we can work from the feet up, but this is a general concept in Chinese culture, in acupuncture. If you're doing massage work, whether you're working on yourself or whether you're working on somebody else, you want to move the qi from the top to the bottom. So when there's ever a question about, there's some tightness in the tendon, which way do I push it? Do I push it towards the center? Always away from the center and from top to bottom, which means if there's something in the arm, we're not pushing up. This is a general rule. There's some channels that move up and down the body in different ways, but the same way, just like reading, we read from top to bottom. So calibration is the same. So the crown chakra, we want to feel that it's full of energy, overflowing with energy. In some yoga, they talk about having a fountain that comes out from the top of the head. In Buddhism, we see statues of the Buddha with something protruding, a cone or a flame coming out the top. So we have the qi going up. The brow is relaxed. That means that there's no energy in the brow. We have the vision is open. You can actually sort of open your eyelids a little bit more, expand, open the orbital of the eye down here using the face muscles, and then let it relax. We have the nose. So opening your nose sideways, this allows the sinuses to open as well. The lips are relaxed, but the corners are active. So feeling as if there's just pulling back on the corners of the mouth, just a bit. The tongue is connected to the upper palate. There's a number of places that it can be, but we want it to be relaxed so that the qi can flow through it. And we're lining up the head top with the shoulders so that the neck is straight. When we talk about straight, it's the position, not the curvature. Shoulders are rolled back and relaxed, and the chest is hollow. Chest is hollow means it's not standing out this way. So that when the qi comes down the front, it can go to the center. The arms are round, so we want to have this feeling that we're holding something spherical or round, and then bring that back into the Tai Chi harmony shape. We're using the center to support. The tailbone is relaxed. We can feel the weight sinking all the way to the feet. The insides of the hips are also relaxed. The insides of the legs are relaxed so the energy can travel. The weight can sink down and the energy can travel up. Knees are relaxed and there's a slight bend. We don't want to have them straight. So I use the term that I use all the time is lightly bent. So we want to have them just bent at a slight angle so that they're not locked. Feel energy in your ankles so that they're expanded. A lot of times people have one of two things happening. They're either walking with their feet out this way, or the feet are turned in, or instead of the feet being flat, they start to cave in on one side. So the feet start to rock in this way. We want to expand the ankles and activate your feet. So pulling up on the whole foot. And so now we're gonna do a little bit of stretching. We want to try to keep all of those same ideas. So reaching across, make your center line straight, and then activate your feet, breathing. Reaching out to the side, try to line up your nose, your thumb, and your elbow in line this way, and then expanding like it's being stretched in two directions. Breathing, like you can reach through the ends of your fingertips and your thumb, and then come back to the center, relax. We're gonna change. Pushing up through the back of the neck so that your spine is straight. The back is straight, and then lining up everything in line. Breathing deep. Reach through the ends of your fingertips, and then when you're ready, come back to the center. We're going to turn around the head and neck. So this is, try to keep your shoulders locked. You can put your hands on your shoulders if you like. If you can, if you're advanced enough to feel where your shoulders are at and what they're doing, you don't need to. But turn your head and neck and try to relax your head. Imagine that you have a grapefruit in a shopping bag. That's about the proportion. Imagine you have some type of cantaloupe, and really allow it to relax so that you can feel the tendons pulling in the corners. If you haven't changed directions, remember to breathe too. And this is your stretch, so where you feel in the corner on the side where it's tight, you can stop in that area and roll it back and forth. And then when you come back to the center, relax, take a deep breath. We're going to do some shoulder rolls, but these are not just shoulder rolls. I want you to open the whole torso. So as if you're expanding the ribs, if you know where the pecs, the deltoids, lats, all of the muscles that attach to the ribs. Make the circle as large as possible. Breathing as well. And then change directions, going the other way. Next, we're going to turn around the center. So keep the center line straight and also keep it stable. So when I turn, I don't have this wobbling. We may shift from side to side, but my center should stay upright. It shouldn't be loose and relaxed. We should have power. So if you want to turn faster and you find that it affects your center, you can adjust the abdominal muscles using the center. So relax your tailbone. Push the back of your head top up. See if you can keep your center line stable and still turn the arms with power. When you get back to the center, take a deep breath. We're going to fold forward one time. So when we do it, let's make it count. We're going to push the tailbone back and away. Relax your arms and your head top, unrolling the spine, as if you're letting everything fold in half. And really allow your head top to point towards the ground. A lot of times we have this thing, we're trying to look up. Instead, let your crown point towards the earth. Fold yourself in half as much as you can. Breathing deep. When you're ready, grip your feet. Use your abdominal muscles. Let everything else relax and unroll your spine upwards. Inflating, breathing with the whole body like we're filling up entirely. Expand all the way up. And then relax. So next, turning around the hip. This is the same where you feel like it's tight or you need to stretch more. Go at your own pace. Remember to breathe. Try to keep your upper body straight while we're doing this. You can activate the toe or big toe or all the toes, and you can change, gripping one side, let the other side relax, changing, going the other direction. And then when you come back to the center, we're going to allow the legs to touch. By the way, when you have an injury with your foot, ankle, in the calf, shin, anywhere with muscle tendon, even if it's something mild, you tweak something just a little bit. If you keep the legs together, whether you're sitting on the couch or whether you're laying in bed or even when you're driving, if you allow the legs to have an energetic connection, they actually strengthen each other. So when we're doing this exercise, imagine the legs are connected, they're one piece. And then we're going to take the hands and warm them up by rubbing them, creating friction, very basic. friction with the hands. And then once it feels warm, press it onto the kneecaps and feel as if you can transfer the heat from your warm hands to the kneecap, to the tendons, to the muscle, to the tissue that's surrounding it. And then press as if you're pushing your kneecap downwards towards your foot. See if you can relax the tendons. Relaxing, you may feel some strange sensation. Activate your toes, grip your toes, and feel the way that your kneecap works on top of your knee. Everyone has a question mark. That's weird, huh? That's a strange sensation. So next, we're going to turn around the ankles. So standing on one side or the other, as if you're rotating around the toe. From the hip, the knee, the ankle. And then change, do some going the other direction. And then on the other side, grip the ground, activate your toes, relax your tailbone, and just turning the leg. And then change, do some going the other direction. Take a deep breath. We're going to start by doing some X-stepping and Jinji Duli. We've been working on this sort of routine with X-stepping and also Jinji Duli for a couple of weeks now. So before we continue, does anyone have questions? We've been analyzing one particular posture in the beginning because we can use it in coordination with the X-step. Questions, thoughts, ideas. That said, find a place that's your center. Remember, in Tai Chi, everything is based on the geometry. So when we step, it's shoulder width wide. I'm studying another style of Tai Chi right now called Sun style Tai Chi. And they're also using a square. They're using the same proportion of square. But in the style that my teacher taught, the shoulders sit either inside the line of the feet this way, or they sit on the center of the feet this way. He would say only if you have some type of injury or something where you have very low energy or worried, concerned about balance, would you move the feet to the inside of the square. Sun style Tai Chi, that square is very small. So for ours, we want to practice, if the feet are shoulder width wide, we have a certain geometry in the body. And then when we add shoulder width deep, we have a square base. And so square base is the most stable. If we like to think about either whether it's something from martial arts or if we have to move something physically where there's a counter movement. If in some martial arts, if we're standing long ways this way, I may be able to generate a lot of power from this foot to move forward here. But sideways, if power is coming here, it's very unstable. So if we use a square, so this X-stepping is the basis. So if you find a place that's your center when you step back to the corner, shifting your weight to the foot and then returning to the center and then stepping forward. We're just shifting, we're not practicing a balance yet. So for this one, you can imagine that you're as if your hips are on a tray and they're sliding or like on a track. So try to keep them level, as if you're balancing something. Your spine is being vertically carried. And so now with the same idea in mind, when you come back to the center, when we step, imagine that you have something that you need to step over, right? There's an obstacle, but we want to keep the hips in the same level. So when we step to the corner, this stays level, but I have to step over the object and then bring the other foot also over the object to step. So let's try that. So from the center, grip, keep the hips in the same place, step, and then bring the other foot, step. Keep your spine straight, hips in the same place, grip the ground, and then raise the other foot, and return, step to the corner, grip the ground, keep your hips level, step over, center, stepping to the corner. The tailbone is relaxed so that when you step, you can transfer the weight. Because the tailbone sinks, the weight transfers into the foot. You feel something with your legs. This is something that maybe as children, when we're outside and we're walking around and we want to sneak up on one of our friends and we have to step over something, may feel a little bit like some type of ninja walking. We're going to incorporate that into the Tai Chi, the Jinji Du Li. So this time the same, keep the hips in the same, as if they're on a tray or on a plane or on a track. I like to think of the old style car seats where they have before the electronic ones, they have a handle and it slides forwards and backwards very freely. We want to have the leg strength. X stepping and Tai Chi in general should have us cultivating the kind of leg strength where when we step, we can allow that transfer to happen just like the ease of movement for the car seat. So let's practice. From the center, when you go to step back, remember we're keeping the hips on the same plane horizontally. So when you step back, now relax the tailbone. And when you return to the center, keep everything level. You don't have to step over anything. But here, when you step, keep it level. Relax the left side raising up. And then center. Keep the hips level. We're using the legs to transport the upper body. Grip the ground. Center. Remember to breathe. Look at something stable. Use your abs, your core, your dantian. Center. You feel some difference, right? It feels somehow easier to balance, stronger. You should feel like you should be able to balance on one side and have the power to transfer. Before we continue, thoughts, questions, comments, ideas. Let's do the Tai Chi form. We're going to do all three sections. If you have a difficult time following along for Joni, for Howard, for people that are new, just hang in there. At some point, we come back to a regular set of movements. And so let's do that. Allow your feet to touch, even if it's just the heels. Bring the head top up to its highest point. Relax your shoulders, relax your tailbone. Bring the hands together in the center. And then if we were outside, when we practice outside, if you go to the park, Mark has a space where he can practice outside. If you have a window, you should look all the way to the horizon. The vision is focused on the horizon. When we practice martial arts, when you have an opponent, if you have to deal with somebody, your vision is focused on them. But when we're playing the Tai Chi form, look as far ahead as you can see. If we're in a room, especially if you can see a reflection of yourself, you can use that to improve. Otherwise, look as far ahead as you can. Gripping the ground, opening to the side, relax the tailbone. The spine stays straight. It may sink and float with the legs, but it's staying straight. We're not curling this way. And then from Tai Chi, Chi Chi, the commencement, we have grasp the sparrow's tail. Stepping forward, ward off. On the other side, this is grasp the sparrow's tail. Ward off. Roll back. Press. Push. Look left. Glance right. While we're practicing, We want to have the same breathing pattern that we started with. This is hook. And then while we're doing the Tai Chi form, the same kind of feeling, the hips staying level, the legs are doing the work. Breathing deep. This is Ti So Sanchi. Lift hands to up posture. We're going to turn 90 degrees to the west. This is crane, opening the wings. So Wei Pi Pa. Press right to the center. Square step back, twig. Crane, opening the wings. So Wei Pi Pa. Brush knee, press to the center. This is holding the moon in the chest. Shifting back. Embrace the moon. Left hand is in the front, the right hand and right foot come up the center. Ban Lan Shui. Corner. Parry. Punch. And then Ru Fong Si. Turn. Press. Press. We're going to continue to the second section. Return tiger to mountain. Bring the feet together. T-step or Kobu. Square step to the corner. Palm press right to the center. Take a deep breath. We're returning to roll back. Press. Push. Look left. Glance right. Double press. Heng Ye So. Breathing. When we turn back to look at the moon, same thing. Keep your spine upright. Let the legs do the work. Turn back to look at the moon. The right hand covers. The arms are round. Breathing deep. Inhaling for repulsive monkey, number 1. Breathe. Number 2. Press. Opening to the side. This is Sherfei. Shoulder bone. Expanding. Hai Di Zhang. This is needle at the bottom of the seat. Keep at least your neck straight. You can keep the whole back straight. San Tong Bei. This is block and chop with fist. Tension, Pishen. Square step. Breathing, Lam. Shui's punch. Keep the head top up. The spine is straight. Legs are doing the work. And then when we come up, there's a change step, roll back, returning to natural breathing. Look left. Glance right. Double press. Split. Hook. This is Han Tam Bian, side whip. So we're parallel east-west. Plow hands number 1. Pressing to the side. And then turning, stepping, and pressing. Plow hands number 2. Turning. Press. Breathing. Step. Press. Number 3. Press. Step and press. Hook. Diao. Corner whip. The hand and the foot move in the same time. This is Gao Pan Ma. Avoid, make contact, advance. And then we're going to come back. Aaron had a question last week. Gao Pan Ma number 2. This is a good place to work because there's people in the second section. We're going to transition facing east, brush and press, brush knee, C step, palm press to the center, brush knee. This is straight step, punch. When we turn 180, block and punch with fist. Step forward, lan. Shui. This is Zhou Hua. Kick. And then from here, Da Li is big roll back. So keep your spine upright here. Even if we sink low, embrace the tiger. Another big roll back. Embrace the tiger. The left foot steps behind the right one. This is scoop the moon from the ocean. Kick. Brush. 2 wings going into the ears. Step back. We're still facing the 45. Left side kick. Turning. 1, 2, 360 degrees. Still facing the same corner. Right side kick. Turning due west. Block. Punch. Kick. Take a deep breath. Long. Open. Shui. Punch. Still breathing. Rufo. Press. Press. We're going to turn. Return tiger to mountain. We're facing north. Bring the feet together. Turning body, warning palm. Turning right around the center line. Pressing to the center. Breathing deep to roll back. So, Yo Pan, Shuang An. Horizontal split. We're facing east. We have hook, side whip, so we're parallel to north and south. And then this is wild horse parting its mane. Yama Fazeng. The same that we did earlier. Try to keep your hips level. Wild horse number 2. The arms and the foot moving independent of the torso's position in space. They're working at the same time together, but we don't change the level. Hips. Roll back. Breathing deep. Look left. Glance right. Double press. Horizontal. Split. Hook. This is side whip, so we're parallel east-west, facing north. This is Yuan Chuan. So 4 corners, number 1. Step and press. Looking to the second corner, stepping, turning 270. Press. Turning 90 degrees to the next corner. Step and press. And now turning 270 again. That was the step. This is the press. Left grasp the sparrow's tail. Again, we're step, at this time pressing down. And then G is pressed forward. An is return the energy. Zogu is just turning Just the upper body, the central line, stay straight. Gather the power for Schwan, An. Split, hook, corner whip. So we've turned facing west. This is the first snake creeping down. And again, we want to keep the spine straight. Jinji Dui, keep the hips level. Breathing deep, change. Jinji Dui. Breathing deep, repulse the monkey. Step back, press to the center. Breathing, scoop, step, center. The left side opens and we replace it with the right side. Opening to the side, this is diagonal flying. High zigzag. In the third section is your right foot and your left hand. San palm bay. When we turn, block, punch, kick. Make your step accurate, square, breathing. Keep your hips level. Punch to the center. Keep your head top up. Hua. Shan Gu Li. Wherever you're at, we're at horizontal split hands. Hook. This is side whip. We're in cloud hands in the third section. So the momentum is continuous around pressing and turning, stepping to press. Long breathing. The movement and the breathing should match, but there's never a stop. When I put a break, it's to show where there's a posture. When we practice, it should be continuous. The Ao Shen is hook, corner whip. The center line stays straight, but it turns. This is snake flashes its tongue. When we turn 180, pull right, kick right. All three turn for cross kick, step, brush, punch to the center. This is a half, fold knees, keep your spine upright. Change, step, breathe deep to roll back. Press. Push. Look left. Glance right. Double press. Horizontal split hands, we're almost there. Hook. This is corner whip. We're facing west. Second snake creeps down. Keep your upper body straight. When we return to the right, we're stepping up to 7 stars. Turning to the north, this is Kuahu. We're going to turn 180 to the south. This is Bailian. Wong Gong circle. Block, punch, kick, square step. Breathing deep, open. Focus the power to punch. Turning around the straight center line. This is Ru Fong. Press, press. We're turning 90 degrees to the north. This is return tiger to mountain. Closing the form. Roll the forearms to block. Unroll the forearms to punch. Let the momentum return back to the center. For Tai Chi Monkey. So let's actually, before we continue, let's actually do something. When you practice Tai Chi like that, when you practice the form and you do the Qigong for 20 minutes, take a minute to breathe. So imagine one of two things, either that you can take the energy that you've been cultivating during that time, and that you can either bring it to your center, right? Like you're bringing it to your dantian, to your geometric center. Or you can imagine like you have your favorite drink in the morning. You have some coffee or tea or hot chocolate or your smoothie, and there's something that you like to add to it. And so it's not fully mixed in. So when you do this breathing, imagine the qi expanding to your fingertips, to your toes, to your head top, to your tailbone. One of two things, either put it all into the center, they're actually both the same thing, or expand it to all the parts. You're either like a whirlpool swirling in, or like a spoon stirring it out to the extent. Don't lock your knees when you do these. That's where we have the Tai Chi principle of light movement. Okay, before we continue, my idea is, last week there was a question at the end of the class. Aaron was asking about some of the transitions from Gao Tan Ma. It's something that's sort of towards the beginning of the second section. There's a lot of people here that should know second section stuff. So if you don't, just consider this as a small trip to the future. We'll come back and examine it more in future classes. We've talked about it in the past. So before we do that, does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments, other things questions that they have about the form, things that you're working on? Because if not, we're going to just work on that part. So Gao Tan Ma. By the way, Gao Tan Ma, this is for people that are studying the third section as well. Happens right after Cloud Hands. So Cloud Hands is this thing where we're stepping side to side, and then we turn to the side. In the second section, we have this Gao Tan Ma. In the third section, after we do all the Cloud Hands and we have hook and whip, we have snake flash and tongue. They're very similar. So if you can remember the thing from the second section, it will translate to the third section. But where does it come from? If I'm facing north, and I'll change the angle a little bit, but just so that we can see in the form, after we do Cloud Hands number 3, we have hook. And then we have a corner whip. That means I've turned my square. I shift my square to the side. So a lot of times the square facing forward here, after Cloud Hands, feet being parallel, we're turning the attention to the west, to the side in this way. And so once we've turned this way for hook and whip, we have the hook and whip is its own set of movements. And then Gao Tan Ma, what does it mean in Mandarin? The question came up. Ma is horse, and Tan means like big or tall, and Gao is like an action. It's like it kind of means cover, right? It's covering. In the martial arts, we might say if your opponent has his guard up, and we do this kind of covering, it's translated as padding, right? Because we want it to sound nice, as opposed to like a covering kind of suppression. So it's translated as pat the high horse. There's a tall horse, and you want to pat it on the back. In reality, the names of the Tai Chi postures coming from the animals describe our opponent. If you have to deal with a tall opponent, your goal is to destroy their center line, right? Our goal is to maintain our center line. That's what we're working on from the very beginning, always to try to have the center line correct. And so in the martial art, our goal is to disrupt our opponent's center line, whether it's to disrupt their balance and force them to go, or to have them compromise their center line in a way that we can take advantage of. So that's what's happening in this posture. After hook and whip, we're here, and we imagine power is in front of us. So we want to get out of the way and use this hand to sort of cover. And then we're going to step back through, and then because the body is turning, we have this natural power. I think last week or the week before, we did some of this X-stepping exercise where we're turning like this, right? We have this free power, as if you're letting your center fall into place, right? It's falling back and being caught by the rear foot. And because that happens, the torso turns and we get this free power. The same thing happening in Gao Tai Ma. From hook and whip, from here, I shift back. If I keep my center line straight, it's just like this swing hands exercise that we do. So from here, I turn, and then when I turn back here, and I turn again. So now we're adding, we get fancy and we add, instead of just turning around this way, we add this kind of over the head, straight line turning, right? So this is a Gao Tai Ma. So we have just this, if our center line, remember, we're trying to maintain the Tai Chi principles the whole time. And this is what's most important, because you can use them for your yoga practice, you can use them for your Kung Fu practice, you can use them if you like to play golf or surf or whatever you like to do. So keep the center line straight and just turning one way and then turning the other way. And then this last one is unwinding, this unwinding around the center. So if I face the camera so that you can see what's happening, right? If I'm doing cloud hands, would be parallel this way. I have my last one, and then I have hook, and I have whip. So my square, my feet turns in this direction. And then from here, my left side, almost like a Tai Chi, half of the Tai Chi symbol. And then my left hand and right foot stepping forward. And then we turn this way. What if I mirror for the camera, right? Where I have hook and I have single whip, right? The first part is to avoid, right? So avoid, make contact, and then turn, right? And this turning, by the way, this is what I'm showing you is simply one way to draw the character. When we talk about Tai Chi, if you understand typography and fonts, everybody will write something a little bit different. And we want to be practiced. The reason that we have this straight line, the center line, is because when we're in the comfort of our own home, we can practice our posture perfectly. And even if it feels kind of weird walking around like that, just like if you're writing a calligraphy or you're learning to write typography with a pen or a brush, you want to write everything perfectly. That way, when it's time to use it, you have to go on the street and you're a very famous calligrapher and they say, write us something. And you write it out and it looks good because you've been practicing this the correct way. So the same thing when we're out in public and things are happening, even though we may change our posture, it's very easy to get back into the upright position because we're accustomed to doing it, right? But if we practice like this, and then when we go out in public and we look like this as well. So the center line is the primary thing. So when we're doing Gao Tai Ma, my center line wants to stay straight. There may be, if it turns, if it bends forward or shifts back a little bit. The other thing, this power, we've talked about for self-defense, when it really comes down to defending yourself. If you put your hands at your waist, right where your belt line is, and you try to keep them there, and raise your knee without trying to drop your hand, just bring your knee up. And see how much power you can make, just without really doing anything. And then add 2 steps, say 1, 2, in. So if we step back, we step 1. So that this has there's a momentum behind the knee, right? So when you have 1, 2, instead of just walking to throw that leg forward to step, allow the momentum to go up. This is for self-defense. This is number 1. When you see guys boxing, Muay Thai guys, they're using the knee. So if you have an opponent, the strongest part of your body is your torso, because we have all of these. This is the trunk of the tree. It's the strongest part for turning. And then after that, we have all of this, the leg muscles, so powerful. So we can combine that by turning the waist and then connecting that power coming up here. We have, without really much effort, just like the swing hands, some devastating, some really heavy duty power. So this is, Gao Tai Ma is good for martial art. So let's practice again. I'll face a different direction this time if I have hook and whip. We have avoid, make contact, and then now you see my body is twisted. In the Kung Fu, we would call this a dragon stance or Longu stance. But then from here, I'm just going to unwind here. Right? Very powerful. And yeah, so turning, this, we don't want this to get too wide. I'm turning this over the top. The concept is, imagine there's an actual horse. And you see the horse. So if you reach over the mane, if you want to pat it on the back, if you come around to the side here, it's maybe not as good. So we can tie in some more advanced Tai Chi ideas from the Pigua, which is for the advanced people, have it come across the center line here. One of the Tai Chi principles in Pigua is called brush your ears. Sounds very funny, but you take your bicep and if it's touching your ear, it's on the center line. And this will prevent shoulder injuries because if we're turning, if it's out here, this is a cantilever. This shoulder has a weight on it. But if it's here, it can freely rotate without having any weight on it. So Gao Tai Ma 1 is avoid, make contact, advance. Gao Tai Ma number 2, we're going to turn the square the other way. So if I'm facing, if we do it the way that we do the form, I'm facing west. And then using my carpet, I'm going to step on the edge. I'm turning my square to the south, and I'm simply repeating. And so why does Gao Tai Ma 1 have more movements than number 2? Is if I don't know if you guys can see the bag over here. I'll put a light on because maybe it'll be easier to see. But in the first one, we have our opponent, and we're here, and we cover, and then we reach through, and then we connect here. Right? So there's all this turning. But the second one, after we've done this, the second one is only avoid, make contact, advance. Why is that? Because in the first one, we're dealing with all of their arms. In the second one, let's say I've done the first one here, and I do avoid, make contact, advance. In the second one, we're literally just clearing here and going to this, right? We're using the back of that arm and forearm. If they have their guard up, it doesn't matter. We're going right around that to hook their neck or their shirt, their beard, their dreadlocks, whatever. So that's hooking there, and then we turn. So let's actually practice it. If I'm facing this direction, east, right, we have hook and single whip. Hit face in direction, avoid, and then opposite hand and foot, reach through, and then just turning the circle, we're balanced on the left foot here. And now for the next one, we're stepping back, and the hand and foot move at the same time. So we step back and reach, and once we connect, we can just turn the circle. Because this idea is here. There's something up there. We don't have to fidget with all the hands. We can just reach around and turn that way, right? That's a simple one. The first one is more complex. What's the third one, right? So if we watch for 1 second, if you guys watch, we have Gao Tai Ma 1. Number 2, what's the third one? I'm doing a pivot on my foot. You can step if you don't feel comfortable. The reason I tell people to step is because this one we have to protect our knee. The knees are the baby joints of the body, so we need to make sure we're doing it correctly. And it's cool that we have some sunlight here so we can see, because what I'm doing when I do that turn after this one is I'm lifting my toe and turning. It's almost a jump, but I'm keeping my heel connected to the ground. And the example that I like to use, the example I like to tell people is if you've ever been bored in school, you know, you have some teacher and they're teaching a very boring class, so everyone has a very serious expression on their face. And so you start messing around and you got like a desktop and you got some paper. And so you start doing this thing, you put the eraser on the paper and you see if you can spin it, right? This is the idea, right, that I want you to have on the heel, because if you have too much weight pushing down on that paper, it's not going to turn. And you see what I did? I destroyed the eraser. That's your kneecap. That's your knee. So what I want you to do is lift the pencil just enough to turn and then set it back down. This is very sort of delicate operation. I want you to keep your leg in line as well so that we're not twisting, that you can see the alignment of my knee and my ankle. This is incorrect. My hip is starting to turn. All of this turning at the same time. In fact, the whole body is as if it's one piece rotating around that heel. So this one, let's not focus on it too much. You can take a step in the meantime. But then the next one is just like a brushing step. So we have avoid, make contact, advance, avoid, make contact, advance. I'm pivoting. You can even keep your step where it is, as if there's something there and you want to put your foot underneath it and lift it up. Right? Like there's something there and you like to go underneath it to scoop it up. And then from here, this is just like when we have brush knee press. And what's the purpose of this one? This is a very funny one. We may have talked about this at the park. By the way, we have about 2 minutes left. So we're going to close with some Qigong. This last one is when somebody's walking, before they can get their foot down onto the ground, right? If they take a step forward, we can simply put our foot underneath theirs, and then suddenly they don't have balance. We control where they can step by supporting their foot like a lift, like an elevator underneath it. Right, that's right, Mark, you have the right idea. We can talk more about this another time. We have just a minute left. Before we do, questions, thoughts, comments? Cool. All right, wait. Go ahead. You can you guys unmute yourself? I don't know if you can. I don't know. I mean, like if you have questions, I don't know how the room permissions are set up.
Ryan?
You don't have to, but I'm saying if you have questions, yeah.
Can you show us what the transition with the arms is as you make that pivoting turn?
Yeah, okay, so from from here, when I do the pivot, this side down, as if I have a round spin here, like a turning barrel, or like a turning wheel. From here, I can be blocking, scoop to get underneath it, and then step forward. There's not a follow step, but you can put one in if you want it, right? So just think about the round, always going back to the round shape, even if the round is this way. And then when I turn, I have this, the same if I have hook and whip, it's round this way. Even this, if I turn in 3 space, this should be round. We don't ever want to have it straight. It's too much. It should feel natural. Yeah. Let's do a little bit of breathing to close. Sort of the same way we started. Grip your feet, lock your knees, your hips, and your waist so that this is all level. On one side or the other, doesn't matter. Breathing. Inhale all the way up, reaching to the top, let your fingertips touch. Exhaling on the other side. So try to turn your upper body 180 degrees. Keep your hips locked in place. Don't twist your knees. Remember to breathe. All of the same Tai Chi principles still apply. Use your abs, straighten your neck. Tongue is connected to the roof of the mouth. Power goes all the way to the fingertips and toes. Lifting upwards through the center, from the base of the torso to the crown chakra. There's actually an internal meridian, a center line that runs vertically. Imagine that you want to make that as tall as possible and as strong as possible. It doesn't have to be a thin line. You can have it expand. And when you get to the other side on this one, just change directions. So once you reach the bottom, turning the other way, keep the lower body locked, turning the waist 180 degrees. Use the whole body to breathe, turning all the way. and put something in your mind. Go at your own pace. Activate your toes when you breathe, lifting everything up, letting everything relax on the exhale. Do 3 more in this direction. Go on your own. Make it the longest, slowest breathing of the whole week. Take your time. On the last one, when you get to the top, let your hands float. Feel as if the air underneath is enough to support them. As if your mind can make your arms light. So light to float. You simply control their position in space. Bring your feet back together. Go on your own. Take your time. When you reach the end, bring everything back to the center. And then just for 1 second, move your mind into the dantian. Take a second physically looking at yourself, internally looking at yourself with a long, deep breath. Take a second to give thanks to yourself for yourself. You have a mind, body, energy, spirit capable of doing Tai Chi. So that in and of itself is enough to have gratitude. Not everybody can do Tai Chi. 1 long, last deep breath. And that's it. If you have additional questions, you can call, text, email me. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
Sure. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.